Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Ink Thoughts podcast. Yeah, mm, I'm happy that you guys click in. And if you haven't checked out the last episode about values, yeah, feel free to check it out. Yeah, so because in this episode, I'll continue talking about it, mainly about how we find and live by our values. So, first thing first, how do we find our values? When it comes to finding our values, yeah, we might start feeling a bit helpless and lost, like, oh, what to do now? What do we look at now? Yeah, don't worry. So, first thing first, what we could do is to look back at those happiest moments that you've ever experienced. It can be any times in your life. It doesn't matter whether it is about your career, your personal life, or any other parts of your life. Yeah. So, try to think about what you were doing during that moment of that happiest moment. Yeah, what factors have contributed to you feeling this way? For example, when I try to think about it, the first thing that comes to my mind is, yeah, I feel happy when I was able to improve myself a little bit more in running. Yeah, Andrew, if you guys don't really know, yeah, Andrew is a marathon. I mean, he runs marathon, and I don't really mm, run that much in the past. The most that I can do probably is just 5 km, but now slowly I'm able to do 10 and 12 km. Yeah. So every day, every time after a run, I'll check on the pace that I was on during that day. Yeah. Even if it's just 0.01 km per hour improvement, I was happy. Yeah, it is so minor, but still I'm happy. I could say my value is challenging my limit. Why? Because when I was running, I tried to do my best, and you feel so tired and you feel like you're challenging your limit. But after that, you notice that, oh yeah, I run I mean slightly faster than last time, and that just makes me feel happy because yeah, I guess my one of my values is I like to challenge my limit. Yeah, of course, be realistic. You can't do it like mm, I mean, a huge improvement out of nowhere. Yeah, it has to be like gradual and slow improvement, but still, it's an improvement. Yeah. So next thing, when are you most proud of yourself? Try to reflect on what are the reasons that makes you feel proud. So for me, the latest proudest moment that I had would probably be my master's graduation. Yeah, I always value good performance and academics and work. I know I value excellence a lot, and hence this could be one of my values. Yeah, I remember I always tried to, do my best in any academics or work related stuff, and the moment that I saw, yeah, I'm able to graduate with distinction, yeah, that's just meant a lot to me. Like your hard work pays off. Yeah, so excellence could be one of the values that I really appreciate. And then now, mm, try to think if there's any times that you're feeling fulfilled or satisfied. Try to link to whether there's any needs or desires that were fulfilled, and how did this experience lead you to, your meaning of life. When I try to think about it, I guess for me it would be when I noticed that my patients, yeah, because I'm work in mental health field, and so when my patients have been getting the help that they are looking for from me. Whether or not they get better or got discharged is another story for another day, but solely being able to provide them with the help that they needed during that moment itself was really meaningful to me. No matter how big or how small that action could be. Yeah, for example, I remembered when I was working in Malaysia, some of my patients, they sincerely told me that a call from me really made them feel better, as in they felt that there's still someone in this world who cared about them. That just made me feel very fulfilled. Yeah. And of course, I remember during that time as well, because I was working with an NGO that serves refugees' mental health, whenever I noticed my patients got better and even have a chance to get discharged, I was truly happy for them. I felt so fulfilled during those moments. From this, I could understand that helping and being helpful is one of my values. And that also explains why I've decided to work in a more clinical setting job. Yeah. And now, determine your top values based on what you have taught through earlier about your experiences, your happiness, your fulfillment, etc. Try to list them down and figure out which are those that you value more. I'm sorry. Yeah, it might take you some time to think through it. Just slowly reflect on each of them. You can put two values side by side and ask yourself if you could only choose one, which would be the one that you prioritize more. After going through the whole list, you probably got your top values on hand. And lastly, reaffirm your values. Double check with yourself if these values make you feel good. Do these values align with your life goals and visions for yourself? Yeah. So now, after we understand what values matter to us, it is equally important that we live up to our values. If not, you always feel something isn't that right, but you can't tell. Something is always off, but you just can't tell. And this would have an impact on your own happiness and well-being too. Like what I've said about misalignment in your values and life in the previous episode. Yeah, for those that don't really know what I'm talking about, feel free to check out the last episode. So, to live by your own life values, we can use our values to help us set goals and visions. There might be things that you've always thought you wanted to do, but after you've done it, it doesn't lead you to much happiness as you thought you would. That could probably due to, reasons like probably that's something that the society expects us to do, and you mistakenly thought that you wanted it too. And after figuring out your own values, now you realize, oh, it probably doesn't even matter much to you. You just don't care about it. Yeah. So to set goals using our values, you can try asking yourself, what do you want to change in order to live a better life in a certain amount of time, say 3 to 5 years? For example, if you value personal life a lot, maybe you would want to consider a job that has a better work-life balance instead of one that requires you to work overtime all the time. Yeah. Next, be flexible to allow exceptions. Here's where the reality kicks in. Values are the most ideal version of life that we all want to live in, but here's the reality. There's lots of things that are out of our control, and let's say you're in a job that has a pretty good work-life balance, but once in a while, when there are difficult projects to deal with, you might still need to work overtime for a bit. But that isn't, all the time cases. You can still be flexible. You don't need to be overly rigid that you don't allow things like this to happen at all. At the end of the day, this is the reality. Things out of control happens and you just have to deal with it. Yeah. And then move on to strengthen your values. It is only by creating and building habits that we could ensure we really follow it through. Why? It is quite normal that we lose track of our goals and now values, isn't it? How many of you have the experiences of losing track of your New Year resolution in the past after a few months in the new year? I guess many of us experienced that before, right? And especially when we live in such a fast-paced world today, and we all have a busy life, it is even easier for us to forget about things like this if we don't actively keep track of it and try to reinforce it into our daily life. How do we do that then? For instance, some people might keep a reflective journal that they spend time reflecting on their values and how they're incorporating the values into their life from time to time. Some might even create a cute poster or wallpaper with their values on it to reinforce themselves on their values each time they see the poster or wallpaper on the phone or other gadgets. So now, to recap, to live by our own values, firstly, we can use our values to help us set goals and visions to guide us in what we want to do and who we want to be. Secondly, by flexible to allow exceptions. And now, time to strengthen your values by creating and building habits around your values. Yeah, I guess that's it for me today. Yeah, we've talked about how to find our values and how to live by our values. Hope you guys give it a try and let me know if it works. Yeah. So I guess that's it. And thank you everyone for listening. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the podcast. If you enjoyed, do share with your friends and family and leave us a review on Apple Podcast. If you're not using an Apple device, you can leave a review on the Apple Podcast website with the link in the show notes. If you have any feedback or thoughts which you hope that we'll discuss in the future, feel free to email them to us at hello@incthoughts.com, or alternatively, you can send us a private message on our Facebook, Instagram or Twitter with the username of incthoughtspod. Thanks again, and see you all next week. Bye bye.